That's our Beijing correspondent Stephen McDonald reporting there. Let's come back home, and it's one of the country's worst unsolved crimes.
2 women were brutally murdered at a hairdressing salon in Portland in Victoria's southwest in 1991. Former journalist Leonie Wallace has written a book about the case, and she joins us now in the studio. Thanks for being here. Why were you drawn to this case in particular?
I think one of the factors which drew my attention was the location. Originally, I grew up in southwest Victoria, and while I never lived in Portland, my sister lived there for a period, so that was one of the factors. And another factor was just the brazen nature of this crime, and certainly when it remained unsolved, I became further intrigued.
Take us through the circumstances. What actually happened on that day?
Okay, so it was a regular Friday afternoon in Portland, and the crime scene, as you mentioned, was a hairdressing salon known as the Old London Coiffure, and it's located on a corner street of 2 busy street thoroughfares in Portland's central business district.
We're seeing a picture of it there. That's the building in question.
That's the Old London Coiffure, yes. Yeah, so there were certainly a lot of people in the area. There were pedestrians walking by on the street, and there were people working in adjoining workplaces. So help was certainly only metres away.
And police, when they came across the scene, came across what can only best be described as a truly grisly scene.
Yeah, it was kind of a frenzied attack, and the women were found in the shampoo room at the back of the salon. Yes.
And the shocking thing about this is that, from all accounts, these were 2 just ordinary run-of-the-mill southwest Victorian women.
They were. Claire Acocks was 49 years of age. She was the hairdresser.
That's Claire Acocks there.
There's Claire with her husband Peter, and she'd lived in Portland since 1976. She was a mother of 3, and she was a grandmother. And Mrs. Penny was also a grandmother. She was a mother of 2, and she'd only moved to Portland about 7 months prior to the murders, after having previously lived in the area. So they had no known enemies or cause for concern.
How is a town affected when crimes like this go unsolved?
Well, people were certainly fearful and apprehensive. They were considering the possibility that the killer may have lived among them, so they were looking at their neighbours, one questioning whether, am I living next door to a murderer, those sorts of things. And in response to their fears, 3 weeks after the murders, a radio station held what was effectively a town debrief, and the program lasted for 2.5 hours, and it was dedicated to people's fears and concerns and how they could protect themselves in that environment.
There were lots of twists and turns, as your book very cleverly recounts, because one of the main suspects ended up being fingered for another crime and also, in fact, took his own life in the end.
The book explores a number of the key suspects and also other murders that have been linked for various reasons. And actually, I've deliberately kept my own personal opinion out of the book because I've present the information, and it's up to the reader to decide for themselves what weight it all deserves. But yeah, certainly there are some interesting theories, and
yeah, and it still baffles police, doesn't it, all these years later?
Well, advances in DNA technology is considered one of the
I wanted to ask you about the cold case investigation.
Well, it's an ongoing investigation, and so hopefully advances in DNA technology will hopefully unlock the answers that are needed. But also, it seems logical to me that someone other than the killer knows who committed this crime, and so the hope is that somebody knows.
And you've been contacted by people?
I have. I've had people contact me with information, and
you had that disturbing phone call, which both starts and ends the book.
It
Tell
does.
us about that.
Yes. In November last year, I received a late night text message from a woman who claimed she knew who committed this crime and that her story had never been told. And I've had ongoing communication with her, and I'm hoping that she will eventually find the courage to speak with police and reveal what she knows. Maybe she holds the key. Let's hope.
Let's hope.
That would be the ultimate outcome.
Well, we wish you well and the police well in their continuing investigation.
Thank you.
Leonie Wallace, thanks.